has happened in that part of the country. What's your thought about our democracy?
Well, democracy has been great. I must admit that maybe given my background as a journalist, I wouldn't take anything, as an alternative to democracy. The fact remains that democracy, regardless of what we make of it, has been a very great experience for us in the north, Borno. Of course, there are challenges. We must also admit that. But I don't think the democracy we have has been responsible for the challenge. Some of the problems that we have had, whether in the Niger Delta or in Borno State, they have been as a result of decades of so many elements. They are evolving now, but I don't think they just came up right now. There are things like for us, we believe that so many factors are responsible, for the Boko Haram crisis that we have, for instance. One of the key elements, in our opinion as a government, is so much poverty, illiteracy, very high illiteracy level, so much poverty. If you look at the Boko Haram elements, majority of them are people who found themselves on the streets, who grew up and got indoctrinated, wrongly, and they found themselves today where they are. There are religious extremists, or let me say people who are misguided by spiritual values, completely read the Quran upside down. But there are also economic elements. There are lots of people who have been recruited as a result of poverty. We have had cases where we found very young teenagers who were being paid as little as 5,000 naira to set our schools ablaze. There are also those who were paid to spy on the military, to call the Boko Haram elements and tell them that these guys are vulnerable, you can attack them. So, but this poverty is not a product of 5, 10 years. It's a decades, of neglect, not getting, the things right. But I think we will get out of it.
Okay, now let's move on quickly then to this issue of what the president said. Uh, According to the president, we've made consistent progress in improving the standards of our election. Um, Election is coming 2015. This is part of what makes up our democratic rule in Nigeria. What's your thought? Do you see any election holding in your part of the world? Do you see democracy, the dividends of it, being able to go out and cast your vote? Do you see it happening?
You see, if we do not conduct elections in any part of Nigeria, we are giving in to the Boko Haram. Because one of the values of the Boko Haram is to suspend the liberal democracy in Nigeria. By not conducting elections, it's like we are conceding defeat to the Boko Haram. There has been election in Afghanistan. There has been election in the most difficult of places. So we must do it, if for nothing else, to tell the Boko Haram that, look, you cannot change our values. You cannot replace it with your violent doctrines. You can do that. Of course, there are many options. The independent electoral, the INEC has the option of setting aside a special dates for elections to be held in crisis-prone areas, not just Borno, Yobe, Adama, you have Plateau, you have Benue. I hope we get over these things before the elections. But there's the option of fortifying security, mobilizing all the resources there, but there has to be elections, if for nothing, to tell the Boko Haram.
Send a message to Boko Haram.
And also, the onus lies on the immediate government to these people to ensure that the forthcoming elections, if you talk about democracy, immediately in your area, it lies on you and every other person in government there. Can you say, in moving forward in this democracy, you have a capacity to make sure that this dividend cuts across to these people?
Yeah, we do. You see, the fact of the matter is this. There are many elements, like I said, that contribute to the whole of this, Boko Haram. what we need from our experiments of getting the youths so much involved, in community policing. Maybe you must have heard about the civilian JTF in Borno, where we have youths who are inspired by Governor Kashim Shettima, trained by the state government, equipped, provided with the tools that they need. They are being paid salaries by the state government. These youths are responsible for the relative peace that we have, in Maiduguri today, and some urban centers of Biu, Monguno, and other places. Of course, they work so much, with the military. That tells you that these problems can be overcome.
That's right.
When the governor was sworn in May 2011, Boko Haram elements were brandishing their weapons on the streets. Today, I can beat my chest and tell you that there is no resident Boko Haram in Maiduguri, which is the
There is no
resident Boko Haram.
So you're saying that these people do not live?
They don't
in
live
the
in
state?
Maiduguri. No, in Maiduguri. I'm talking about the
In
state
Maiduguri.
capital,
That's
which
right,
is
okay.
the biggest part of the state.
Right.
In the past, it used to be the most troubled, part of the state. Today, the youth in Maiduguri, there is a mass movement against the Boko Haram. It tells you the mindset of the majority of the people of the state. But I think what we need is concerted efforts, particularly, support, from the federal government, using the military, maybe more number of boots, the right equipment. I believe that we can handle the situation.
Okay. We will come back to that topic, but let me pick you up, Oscar, on what you said earlier, some of the points you raised earlier. We all know that you have to elect a government for it to have the authority to rule or to reign over the people. And those who are elected are supposedly leaders that head government. Now, shouldn't these people be above board to ensure that our democracy is strong and vibrant, and that the issue of corruption and things like that don't continue to undermine how we describe or define our democracy?
What you're saying is the ideal situation.
Ideal?
Ideal. Unfortunately...
Shouldn't we aspire, I'm sorry to interject, shouldn't we aspire to the ideal?
No, it's not the man that will aspire. It's you that elected him. If I elected you, I'm sending you on a message. But thereafter, I don't ask you, what are you doing about what I asked you to do? In other words, Nigerians do not have that knowledge, that understanding of the social contract. I gave you this position to do this for the good of all of us.
Believing that I will do it.
That's right. But you see, all that I've done is to give you the power. You're supposed to have the talent, you're supposed to have the time. Go ahead and do it. But then, if I do not check on you, that's why the democracy we're talking about is checks and balances. But if we do not talk, the human being is naturally deceitful.
Are you putting the blame
on the people?
On the people.
Oh, perfectly, totally, completely. I will never stop blaming the people until they rise up.
Okay, how then do you justify rising up and asking all of the time and never getting answers? Why should you elect a government, all right, that has made it, quote unquote, their own style of, always going about corruption? And the people ask, why did you spend $20 billion?
Okay.
And for months, no one is answering. And it looks like no one is talking about it again. And it's not like people are not asking. So how do you justify that people ask questions but they never get answers?
I think it depends on how you ask. You just asked me now, I'm going to answer you.
Okay.
No, you just asked me now and I'm going to answer you. But if I begin to think that you're asking a question in a manner that suggests something else, in other words, your question is rhetoric, you're only asking just to hear my voice, but you made up your mind as to what you want to believe, I don't need to answer you.
No, but
and because you're going to another place. Where I'm driving at is because she came up with something else that people are asking and nobody is giving answers. They are not asking well. Don't stop asking until you get the answer. It's as simple as that. We tire out so easily. we tire out too easily. We are very easily distracted.